And why do you care more about cash flow?
It's never ending if you do it right. And like I said, equity can cost you money, and cash flow is king. Cash flow, like I said, gives you freedom.
They say cash is king. You would say cash flow is king.
If you're making, $100,000 at your job a year, but you can get your cash flow up to $110,000 a year, you don't need your job. You're not living under the aspect of that you might lose your job tomorrow. I mean, once you have cash flow, that cash flow comes in.
If you think wealth is about luxury cars, designer jewelry, or exotic vacations, you're in the wrong place. We're not concerned about your net worth, your 401k, or how much debt you have. Our approach is much different because real wealth isn't only about money. It's about freedom. Freedom to work because you want to, not because you have to. Freedom to pursue your purpose, live on passive income, and build a legacy. That freedom starts now. Welcome to the Real Wealth Formula with Brad Hovis, where each episode breaks down the principles, mindset, and practical steps to help you experience financial freedom today. Real talk, real numbers, real freedom. This is the Real Wealth Formula.
This episode is brought to you by Rebiz.com. You've probably seen the same old stuff in your feed. Invest in a franchise, start an ATM route, buy a car wash, launch a vending machine side hustle. Cool ideas, but here's what they don't tell you. The good ones are way too expensive, and the cheap ones barely cash flow. But there's a business model that's quietly producing big paydays as well as monthly income for people working from home, a coffee shop, or even out of their pickup truck. Visit Rebiz.com, that's Reibiz.com, to see how it all works. What's up, moguls? This is the Real Wealth Formula. I am here with Matt Sanchez, a legend in the real estate investing world here in Denver, Colorado, and I've got a specific question for him. Matt, how do you buy real estate at the foreclosure auctions?
With the cash certified fund.
Yeah, cash and guts, right? Yeah. So how we met was actually at the auctions of doing deals. Was it Adams County, Denver?
It'd be either one of those. Those are the two that I mainly did. So I'd say Adams County.
Yeah. And what kind of process are you looking at when you're trying to figure out how to buy, at the auction?
Really, what you got to do is you get the list a couple of days before the auction. Off of that list, you're going to decide what properties are of interest to you. Then you actually go out to those properties, do a little walk around. Usually you can't get in the properties that are locked up. They're locked up by a property management company that takes care of them and maintains them. Sometimes they're occupied by even the owner still.
So that's not exactly true. You said sometimes you can't get into those houses because they're locked up, boarded up, whatever. Have you found ways to be able to get into that?
We've been creative.
You may or may not walk around with a lock picking set.
No,
never happened that way. So then once you find the foreclosures come out, and when you're bidding at the auction, you're not actually bidding on the house. You're bidding on the lien, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which then entails that you may get the house if there's no junior lien holders that take you out of the position that you created.
I kind of want to get into some of the details there. Most people think when you're going to that foreclosure auction, now we're not talking about all auctions. We're just talking about the foreclosure auction, the county foreclosure auction here in Colorado, which, by the way, is very similar in other markets. But the foreclosure market here in Colorado, a couple days before they come out and say, hey, here are the actual houses or the actual houses that have these liens that are going to the foreclosure that everybody can bid on, right?
Right.
So your process is you go and take a look at it. What are you trying to get? What kind of information are you getting from that?
We're really just trying to evaluate the house as far as how much damage is there? Is there no damage? What's going to be the repair cost? So with the public trustees auction, you get a base of the price that they're asking for.
Yeah.
To put yourself in the position of the first lien holder. And you definitely want to make sure that you're purchasing a first lien.
Yeah.
There is second liens that foreclose. And if you buy one of those, then you are responsible for the first lien. So you'll want to put yourself in a position where you're working with a title company to get an O&E.
What's an O&E?
It's heirs and omissions.
Ownership and encumbrances.
Yeah, ownership and encumbrances of the property.
And heirs and omissions, that's E&O, yeah.
That's E&O.
Ownership and encumbrances, yeah.
Right. So then that gets you that what liens are on that property. Mm-hmm. So you might have some city liens from them mowing the lawn. You might have a second mortgage on there. You might just have even a past debt that you didn't pay that was able to attach to the property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you get that O&E report, that pretty much is telling you, hey, here's everything that is against this house, because there's a difference between ownership and finance. Like you can own the house and then you have these liens that secure it. Could be a first mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could be a second mortgage. Could be if you didn't pay the HOA, they could put an HOA lien on there. Correct. Could be the IRS. IRS could put a lien on it.
Correct.
And so when you go to the foreclosure auction and, you're bidding on that, hopefully you're bidding on that first lien.
Correct.
What happens once you win that first lien?
If you win that first lien, basically you only have to bid $1 over
what they're starting the starting bid.
The starting bid.
So if it's $150,000, you bid $150,001.
$1.
$1 minimum, and
right,
you can possibly get that.
Right. If there's no other bidders on there, then you get it for that $1 over. And once you get that $1 over, then the property in essence is yours, but you can't take control of the property fully.
Yeah.
Because there's a process still of about another 21 days for them to actually transfer that deed over to your name.
Yeah. Because what they're doing in that process, right, is giving all these other what are called junior liens the right to then come and redeem this, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So then you win it for $150,001, and let's pretend there's a second mortgage. What happens to that second mortgage behind there?
If the second mortgage does not take over the position that you're in and taking over the first, then it actually just gets wiped out.
Completely wiped out. So someone years ago gets buys a house. They lend $150,000, and we'll do for round math, $150,000 and $50,000,
mm-hmm.
right? A first and a second. We go to they stop paying one or both of these loans, goes to the foreclosure auction. You're there bidding in a room full of other people who want this same house. We'll get to that in just a second. You bid at least $1 over. You get that house. That junior lien now has an option, right? Because they put out $50,000 in that second position, second lien. What options do they have?
They have a period where they can actually file a form called an intent to redeem. So if they file that form intent to redeem, it gives them like another 7 days from that intent to actually bring in the good funds to the public trustee.
Mm-hmm.
So if they bring in the good funds to the public trustee of the $150,001, and then there's some other miscellaneous costs to the public trustee and or even you holding the property,
mm-hmm.
you can say, well, I had to mow the lawn. I had the
locksmith.
The door was wide open one time I went there, so I hired a locksmith to lock it back up. So you have expenses on that property. If they're valid expenses, then you can add that to your $150,001, and you'll be reimbursed for all of those fees by the second lien holder when they actually redeem.
So what that second lien holder has to do is come in with $150,000 plus all these expenses, and basically they're taking over your position.
Correct.
Right. You get all your money back, but they're now in your position with the house and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they're like, no, I don't want to do that? They're out.
They're out. So
they lose their $50,000.
They lose their $50,000. It does not stay with the property. It can stay with the person, the borrower, the borrower that actually signed that second note and deed of trust, but it's no longer on the property. So you get the property free and clear because you've actually paid the cash to the public trustee for curing the first note and deed of trust.
And when you're bidding at the auction and winning, it's certified funds.
Yes.
It's a cashier's check.
Yeah. Back in the time when I was going, there was a certified funds that you brought in as a cashier's check to the public trustee. A lot of the municipalities now have actually set up to where you actually wire in funds ahead of the auction.
Okay.
And you want to bring in, like, let's say the auction, like I said, is $150,000 bid, but you're willing to go up to $175,000. So you'll want to wire in the full $175,000 because you're only limited to bid to the dollar amount that you've actually wired into the public trustee.
And so I remember going to the public trustee auction, and guys would have denominations just with this exact problem.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the starting bid is $150,000. They come in with $100,000 cashier check and a $50,000 cashier check and a $25,000 and like basically different denominations, looking to make sure, hey, I can cover this, right, without having all my money out.
Right.
Is that the kind of strategy that you used when you were there, or did you?
Yeah. So like I said, if it's $150,001, we would bring a check for $150,001. Then we'd bring another couple checks for like $5,000 each.
Oh, okay.
And then we'd bring another check for $25,000. And what you did is then whenever you reached that bid for the dollar amount, you wanted to give the public trustee as close as you could to your bid without leaving a bunch of money on the table.
Because it takes a while for them to reimburse you.
You get the money back. But you have to wait that 21 days or even maybe longer for the public trustee to reimburse you for the extra funds that you've brought in.
If you're an active real estate investor and you're not using FreedomSoft, I got bad news for you. You're getting beat by other active investors who've been utilizing this CRM software for well over a decade. We're able to close deals faster, more consistently, and with higher margins. So if you're tired of getting beat, go to realwealthformula.com/sponsors and click on the FreedomSoft link. Start doing more deals today. So if you came in thinking, hey, the most I'm willing to bid on this is $200,000, I'm going to write a check for $200,000. I give it to the public trustee. They're going to hold your $50,000 or $49,999, $49,999 for 21 days.
Yeah.
That means you can't do anything with it. So we want to get as close to it as possible, right?
Right.
Now, from a strategy perspective, did you go in, because it can be an emotional situation. You're in this room.
Well, it could be.
And it's a bunch of guys. It's me, it's you, it's Dilday, it's the hedge funds, it's everybody. Like, we're all sitting in there, sometimes bidding together, most of the time bidding, just individually. Right. Help me understand the strategy that you have actually bidding, because you're not always getting it for $1 over.
No, there's competition in it. And even believe today, I haven't been to an auction in a few years, but even today there's, like I said, there's institutions bidding and then there's private people bidding.
Yeah.
So there's always competition in there. Some houses are unique though. Some houses I was able to get because other people didn't want to touch it. It was too much work. If you walked up to a house and it was fire damaged or maybe it was obvious that it had structural problems. I mean, I've been in the business long enough that things like that actually give me an edge because I can actually fix those kind of things.
So foundation problems don't bother you?
No. So I was able to get some of the properties for $1 over, even though there was other competition in the room.
Yeah. Do you go in there with, we're not going, what's your strategy? I don't want to, I'm trying to ask your poker tells right now. Do you go in there saying, here's the amount I'm going and not a penny over? Or do you just kind of feel it out? Or how much emotion is involved in that? You explain that to me.
There's some emotion in it because, like I said, if you take extra money with you, then that emotion can take over and you can end up going over your desired bid. I have a max. Well, I got tied up into it and it's like, okay, what's another couple grand? So I'm gonna keep pushing this, and because I have the money to give the public trustee. So yeah, definitely, I've been in that situation.
Have you overbid before?
And I've overbid.
Have you lost money on a foreclosure deal?
No,
you've never lost money on how many foreclosure houses roughly would you say you've bought?
Well, from the period of 2008 all the way to, let's say, 2018, I'd say we bought a couple hundred.
Yeah. In 08, the sweet time was what? 08 to 2014, 12?
Yeah, 14.
Yeah. Because then the hedge funds started coming in. They figured this game out.
When the hedge funds came out, they actually paid closer to retail than wholesale, so they didn't leave any meat on the bone.
Yeah. And you're having to come with cash. Are you putting a line of credit against your rental property and then pulling that out from a cashier perspective? How are you actually funding these?
Yeah. I mean, that's the main way to do it is a line of credit or if you just have enough money in the bank account for it. But we were buying several, so we were using a line of credit.
Yeah. And that you put against your rental portfolio.
Correct.
Right. When you're doing that, you're trying to help me understand. Do you get paid? Do you get charged interest? Like you go get all this money out in a cashier's check in the morning, right? You put it back. Let's say you don't win anything.
Right. What
would you say is the chances when you are going to an auction that you're coming home empty-handed?
In the beginning, it was pretty low odds that you would not come home with something.
I mean, because that's the time.
But right around 08 through, like I said, 2012, you pretty much were able to get
at that time
one of the properties that you were going.
You're shooting fish in a barrel, right?
Yeah.
So your success rate is pretty high there.
Yeah.
Here recently, not so much.
No, like I said, I haven't been even attending the auctions because back then, let's say there was 30 per week that were going for sale. You would go out and look at 10 of those 30 because they were something that interested you. The other 20, there was something that was not working for you. So then out of those 20, you might get one, you might get two.
Okay.
If you're having a good day, you might get I think the most I've ever bought in a day was probably like 4 or 5.
When you're evaluating these houses, because a lot of times you just can't get in.
Right.
They have made it so you just cannot get in.
Right.
How do you analyze the rehab on that?
Part of it is you just take the worst case scenario. I mean, if you go in there and say, you've done this long enough that you can look at the yard, you can look at the maintenance of the house on the exterior and say, okay, well, if the house is maintained on the exterior, then it's maintained on the interior.
How often has that been wrong?
Not very often.
So if the house outside is beat up, the inside's beat up.
Yes.
Outside is nice.
Yeah.
Inside is pretty nice.
And it could be reverse of that. I mean, if the outside's beat up, you can still have a nice inside, so that's a nice surprise. But at least you've planned for the worst scenario.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's a very good point.
You plan for the worst scenario. So if you plan for the worst scenario, then like I said, you put yourself in a position where you're not going to lose money.
Yeah. Buying at the auction, once the process is finished, the public trustee has cleaned it. That's a pretty clear title, isn't it? I mean,
it's back to zero.
It's back to the day it was built. Yes. Probably even better than that, right?
Yeah, the only thing that can stay on there that you would have to cure would be the HOA if there's an HOA. Because HOA are
superior liens.
Superior liens,
yeah.
They're first.
Same
even an IRS lien can fall off. I bought a couple properties that had IRS liens. The IRS has a longer time period, like a 90-day time period to come and redeem the property, but you're out of the public trustee, so they could just redeem it even if you've already fixed it up.
The IRS can?
Yes.
After you've already fixed it up?
Right.
Have you ever had that happen?
I've never had that happen. The IRS has never come to redeem on a property after the public trustees period. I've seen them, not with me particularly, but I've seen them actually take over a property from other investors.
Did they,
it might be one out of the whole year the whole 10-year period that we're talking about.
When they did that, the IRS will then just follow the person, right?
Right.
They're not necessarily, once the house is out, they're like, hey, we're going to go whatever. HOA, have you had any problems with HOAs?
No, the only problem with the HOA is they're pretty strict. So if they say they're due $2,000, you have to pay them $2,000.
There's no, because the other liens, there's an advanced strategy here where you're negotiating with junior liens, aren't you?
Yes.
Have you ever bought a junior lien so that you get the right to redeem?
I have.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, you go to the public trustees auction and you know that there's there's a junior lien. So you go there and there's competition on that property. So you don't even bid on the property. And if the value stays low enough on that property, then I actually have gone to the junior lien and actually purchased that junior lien. And what that does is it puts you in that position.
Yeah. So now you have the right to redeem.
Right. So then I'm
we can play this game both ways, right?
So I'm the one that then is redeeming the person that actually won it at auction and waiting the 21-day period.
And sometimes, these junior liens will typically sell, they're not selling for retail, are they?
No, you usually can get a discount on it because they want cash today.
Yeah. And they have no intention of redeeming it.
Right.
So the example would be going to our $150,000 first. We got a $50,000 second. And let's say this guy did some kind of collection situation? Is that what the typical junior lien? You tell me.
Yeah, the junior lien, like I said, is trying to collect the money just like the first lien holder. So they're on notice with the public trustee because everybody that's in the chain of title gets notice saying, hey, this property's going into foreclosure.
But how did that junior lien get there behind the second? Explain that to our audience.
Yeah, what that would be is like, okay, well, you bought the property and you put a lien on there for $150,000. And let's say you've had that property for 5 years, and then you were like, okay, well, I want to do a remodel on the house, so I'm going to go out or I have a bunch of credit card debt, so I'm going to go out and get a second mortgage. And now that I have equity in the house, so I have a second mortgage, so I'm going to get a second mortgage, and I was able to get another $50,000 on it. So I'm still making payments on my first, making payments on my second. The world turns upside down for me, so I can't make payments on any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now it goes into foreclosure. So when it goes into foreclosure, everybody gets notice that it's in foreclosure. And so the second lien holder knows that they're in a position that they have to cure the first lien if they want to take over the property. But lien holders are not interested in property. They're interested in finance.
We had, I don't know what kind of collection it was. It might have been just a credit card collection of some sort. Somehow a collection agency got this lien. It was for like $8,000, right? We went to them and said, hey, the auction's already done. We know what the price is, whatever. We went in and they wanted some money for it. We gave them like $500, bought that lien, and went to the first guy and said, hey, by the way, I'm going to be redeeming this unless you pay me off, right?
Right.
That $500 turned into $5,000. I leave, and he now had the right. He paid me off.
And so that actually gets down to a whole nother scenario. So when you're dealing with these banking institutions and you're dealing with foreclosures back in 2008, banks then were trying to get funds back into their bank because they had all this bad debt. So what they were doing is taking second liens that they had, and it's like, okay, well, we have 100 second liens that are in non-performing. So they would actually bulk that together, and then, like you said, they would sell that at a discount to some collection company or some agency out there that's willing to then try to recover that money in the bank. Like I said, the bank's not interested in the house. And then that puts you in that position to where like you go to that person that's holding that second lien and they're like, yeah, well, we bought this for 25 cents on the dollar. So yeah, just give us our 25 cents on a dollar. We're happy. So like I said, you can get a deep discount on that second mortgage.
There's so many different angles on this because again, it's not just a house; it's all the levels. You can't do what's called bid rigging, right? You can't go into an auction and be like, "Hey, but guys, I'm going to take it for this. You take it for that." You can't do that, right? But what you can do, and it's happened, it's totally legal outside, is someone wins a bid. In fact, the second house I bought from a friend of ours, two friends of ours, Robert Vasquez, my second rental property, I should say, Robert Vasquez and Mike Penny, with Dan Githens. These are guys that are regular auction guys.
Right.
They won it at the auction. They had the right to, they're waiting that 21-day period or whatever. There were no junior liens. I had talked to them at the auction and then met them at the house. And right there on the house, they assigned their right to buy that house to me for $5-10 grand. They made their money and moved on. I wound up buying the house and they effectively assigned it and wholesaled it to me. That kind of stuff happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I didn't get involved in that too much, mainly because I was, able to do my own deals.
You were buying for yourself.
Yeah, buying for myself, do my own deals.
Well, I kind of hacked it a little bit. I let everybody else do all the homework. And then once I got done with it, I go, hey, would you mind selling it to me? Yeah. So, people out there, just because you're not bringing cash to the auction doesn't mean you can't still buy auction properties.
Yeah. Yeah, I was more of the guy that actually was buying them. We call it wholesale at the auction. You get them for a discount, so you're buying it wholesale. Mm-hmm. And then I would actually rehab them and take them to retail. There was, like I said, other investors out there that were just mostly looking at making a quick turnaround. Mm-hmm. So they actually even went, knowing other people would buy it from them. So they would go to the auctions. Like I said, maybe the other guy's a 9-to-5 guy. He's not in real estate. He can't do all the investigations and all that. But then once it's in ownership and then they know that this company has it, then they can just say, well, I'll give you the, 10 grand and I'll take it over from this point. And those guys, like I said, they were in and out of auctions and making their funds.
Yeah, there's another angle. There's a legitimate angle for the average person who's not, like you just mentioned, there's 30 houses. Mm-hmm. You have to comp all of them. Then you get them down to 20 houses or so. These are the ones that you actually want to look at. Right. Then you got to go drive and go estimate and figure out whatever. And you've got a short period of time. Like when does it come out? That list comes out on...
Usually the list comes out like on Tuesday, and you have Thursday morning, you're at the auction.
How much you think about that?
Yeah, so you're waiting actually at your computer, because sometimes the public trustee's late, but they say they're going to publish it at 2:00 on Tuesday. Well, it doesn't come out till 4:00, and it's wintertime. So now you're driving these properties when it's already getting dark, and there's snow on the ground. Yeah. You can't see the roof because there's snow on the ground. So, when you can't see the roof, you have to mark it down like it needs a roof.
Yeah. And then if the snow comes off and you don't need a roof, it's a bonus.
Right. Then it's a bonus, right.
So then, within a couple of days, you're looking at all these 20-something houses to then go and bid and possibly get 1, 2, something like that, right? And everybody else is in that same boat. So a legitimate way for non-people, your deal was I want to buy it wholesale, fix it up, and take it to retail. We basically fix and flip, right?
We were taking it so far into retail that we actually had 2 8-foot by 16-foot trailers full of furniture. And we would actually retail them out and then we'd go stage them. So that way then our property sold versus the other person that was out there. Because the market was pretty soft back then.
Yeah.
So, but we staged the houses and people were like, oh, we like this house. They could see themselves living in there because it had the furniture in there. When you put a vacant house that echoes when you're walking through it, it doesn't have a home feeling to the buyer, the end buyer.
Doesn't sell as fast.
Right.
The other part, though, is, for people who are saying, well, how could I buy from these guys? It's really simple. I mean, you're looking to make a buck on it, mm-hmm. right? And your process was, I bought it at the auction, I'm going to fix it up, and then I'm going to sell it for retail. Mm-hmm. Well, what if you didn't want to fix it up? What if your crews were too busy? What if your capital, you had another deal that you wanted to, and you would need to bring some capital back? Talking to the auction guys is a great source to be able to find deals, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, like I said, they're doing the legwork. They're doing their job. So, they get rewarded for that. And you get rewarded by the fact that you didn't have to do any of that. And now you have a deal. So, like I said, there were guys that were on the secondary that were like, okay, I bought this from you. I fixed it up. I sold it. now I have this cash. I want to do another one. So they'd go to the different people at the public trustees auction saying, okay, I like that one that you won. What would you take to hand it over to me today?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, within a couple of hours of the auction or 5 days later from the auction.
5 days later, whatever.
It's like, but I'll give you your cash, make you whole, and then I'll take over when it gets through with the public trustee.
Yeah. If you're an active real estate investor and you're not using FreedomSoft, I got bad news for you. You're getting beat by other active investors who've been utilizing this CRM software for well over a decade. We're able to close deals faster, more consistently, and with higher margins. So if you're tired of getting beat, go to realwealthformula.com/sponsors and click on the FreedomSoft link. Start doing more deals today. Another question about the auction. So basically is if someone doesn't have rocks in their guts, which is the auction buyer, like you got to think about it from that perspective. Someone gets a list on a Tuesday. They go to this house, can't get in, try to get in. Maybe the window is open. Maybe the door is open. Maybe my lock picking set works, maybe that kind of thing. Somehow we're able to get into these houses or not. Can't get into that house, still bidding real money. I mean, this is real cash due when you bid this thing.
Right.
So those guys have rocks in their guts, right?
Or in their heads.
We can still try to get those deals because they may just want to wholesale them to us. They may just want to dump them to us. They may just whatever. Would you recommend people going down to the auction? What kind of etiquette would you recommend people going down to the auction, meeting people, talking, trying to build a network of auction buyers? What kind of etiquette would you want to help people with?
Yeah, I'd say definitely that's what you want to do. You want to follow the process to understand it. And then, like you said, you'd want to attend an auction or find out who is attending those auctions, get their contact information. Most investors are really open to teaching.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll find a couple of people that hold their cards close to their vest, but most of them are like, I'll show you what I do. And reason for that is if I share something with you, then you'll help me out later.
Yeah.
It's a small community.
It's a small community. We live in a world of abundance. Right. We know that it kind of comes back around. I mean, you and I we've done lots of deals.
Lots of deals.
I don't know if we've gotten up to 100 yet, but we're probably pretty close, whether from one side or the other.
Yeah, I'd say pretty close.
Yeah. That all started with...
I know I bought a bunch through you that you wholesale.
That I just sold over to you that I couldn't take. We had we had a pack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could take a handful of them. I said, do you want to take the rest of them? Great. You put deals together. And what I noticed about the auction community, frankly, those guys are some of my, best friends, best professional friends out there because these guys are in it. They're grinding. They're doing whatever. They can respect, the hustle. Like when you think about, we even went on a cruise.
Oh, yeah.
You met John Dilday from the cruise. From the auctions, right?
From the auctions.
Doing deals together. We're making money together. Things are going well. We all went on a cruise. I can't remember where we went.
We went to the...
Belize was one of them.
Western Caribbean. We went to Belize, Honduras, and Costa Maya.
I when you think about that.
That's back in 2015, something like that?
Something like that.
Maybe not that far back, but yeah.
When was the Super Bowl? That was 2015. So it would have been before that, 2014. Because I think we went on that cruise before we went to the Super Bowl. I can only think about it. The real estate investing community is pretty small. It's with a bunch of guys who have learned how to play the game.
Right.
We learn how to play the game, right? And then as you're playing the game, we all have our limitations. Like your crews that do your construction, it would be foolish for you to go and say, hey, yeah, we're going to have 50 houses lined up waiting to get rehabbed. Why? Because they're going to get broken into. Furnaces are going to walk off. Air conditioners are going to walk off. So no, my crews are too busy. I can't take this deal. Do you want this deal? Yeah, we trade deals like baseball cards, right?
Yeah, we have, like I said, it's like, okay, I don't have a deal. So what do you have? So, okay, well, I do have too many. So okay, well, let me have one of them. And next year, it might be the opposite role. I have too many and you don't have any. So
yeah. I'll sell this to you and
I'll sell it to you.
Move it on.
Yeah.
We also, when I was even doing my, I just sold my house. I called you up and I said, hey, I haven't been doing a lot of deals in Denver, right? I said, hey, you got a contractor? You got a painter? You got a floor guy? So yeah, here's my painter. Here's my floor guy, right?
Little bit more to the vest with those kind of guys.
Yeah, because, well, the good news is you do that I'm not going to use them up all the time.
Yeah.
And if they're not busy, right, there's some etiquette there.
Right.
There's some manners that you got to show.
You got to protect your handyman, because if not, they're working for the other guy, and you're like, come on.
And paying them more, and I got to go find a new handyman. Yeah. We're more liberal with the deals than we are with the contractors.
Correct.
We'll share the deals all the time. The contractors, a little close to the vest.
Yeah.
But going out to those trips, how fun was that, dude?
Oh, awesome.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot of travel.
Yeah, there's 20 plus of us, husbands and wives.
Husbands, wives, hanging out there on the cruise, renting mini boats, wine tasting.
Not only that, but I mean, like I said, this is a 24/7 business. So I'm sure, I wouldn't know exactly how many, but I'm sure out of the 20 of us, a couple deals were probably made on that.
Well, I could tell you, like, I remember John needing to get a notary, signing something, or overnighting something from Belize to the States to kind of close on a deal. I remember that. So it's like, yeah, man, it's a fun community. What got you started in real estate, man? What made it so that you said, this is the path for me?
The main thing that made it for me was, I was young when I started. So I have a real advantage on that. So, I was a late night TV show watcher back in 1979, 1980. And back then there was only, the TV went off at midnight and you only had the infomercials after that. Either you were watching some kind of knife infomercial or some kind of real estate infomercial. And then there's these guys that are doing their infomercials. And, back then there was one guy that had a boat with a bunch of girls on there and saying he's making money in real estate.
Okay. Impressionable on a high school kid. Yeah.
Really impressionable. There's another guy that was, said he was a New York taxi driver and he had all this cash flow and had all the freedom in life. And then there's I'd say another couple guys that were just on there. So you watch all these guys, they actually say they're coming to town, give a free seminar. And actually, when I was 18 years old, I went to a couple of the free seminars. I didn't have any money to actually pay for $1,000 seminar or whatever. So I just went to the free portion of the seminar and soaked up some information. So then after that, I was hooked. I was hooked into real estate.
So yeah, we talk, a lot of the people who are listening and watching this podcast are, people who are working corporate America and trying to figure out a way to escape, right? Mm-hmm. You escaped it from the very beginning.
I did. I worked in corporate America for 12 years. Graduated high school in 1980, bought my first house in 1981, was able to leave corporate America in 1992.
Okay. But you were doing real estate the whole time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was doing a deal here and there.
So you're doing both.
Right.
You're doing both real estate, and what were you doing? I don't even know what you did.
I actually, through high school, I actually did drafting. So I actually had a drafting...
Architect?
It was architectural drafting, but I was actually got into the oil field industry. So I was actually doing piping drafting. So, all these big refineries that there's pipes, mass rows of pipes running everywhere. I actually...
You drafted
those drawings and stuff like that. So the engineers would say, okay, well, we're going to do this. They would create the main drawing, and then we would make, drawings after that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So for 12 years, you were doing your regular job, your corporate job.
Yep. And
still doing real estate at the same time.
Yeah.
Nights, weekends, margins in your day. How'd you pull that off?
All nights and weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did it a little bit. You actually would go and do the construction.
Yes. So I did all of the actual construction. I was fortunate that my dad did all the house repairs and actually did built a house when he was younger too. So he knew everything about it. So he taught me how to do it. And my mom actually supported us both and actually doing a lot of real estate. So my dad became a partner of mine later on when I was actually, say about in 86 or 87, he actually said, I want to do more of what you're doing.
Wow. I've never done the hands-on stuff. I know what needs to be done, right? I have done millions of dollars worth of rehabs, over 500 rehabs for me. But I just manage the guys who do know how to do it, right? I'm like, this looks right. This does not look right. You did this, that kind of thing. One of the trips that you and I took was to Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm. Not too long ago.
And I was like, I wasn't shocked, but it was just, you kind of going back in your old, because you've not rehabbed that. You yourself have not rehabbed a house in a while.
No, not myself. No.
You hire the contractors now, right?
Yeah. I do all the stuff around my own house, which is everybody else like, why are you doing stuff around your house?
See, and that was a thing that was shocking, not shocking to me, but we went to a house, you just bought it, brand new house, but for whatever reason, this screen had fallen out of the window, was in the mud, and you're walking around being like, hey, wait a second, there should be a screen there, a window screen. And I'm like, Matt, who cares? Have your property manager come. Let's go get some barbecue. Let's go to Hard 8, get some great barbecue there in Fort Worth or, Dallas. I'm like, no. So It's raining. It's muddy. You walk around, get this screen out of the mud, bring it into the house, and are washing this muddy screen and then putting it back in the window. I'm like, oh man, he misses the days when he was doing the construction.
Yeah, I still do all that kind of stuff.
You do all that kind of
All
stuff.
that kind of stuff, yeah.
So you are the next door millionaire.
I guess I am. I mean, I don't live an extravagant life at all. I mean, if we spend money on vacations. That's where we spend money. But on the daily life, no.
Experiences.
Yeah. My go-to vehicle, I've had several vehicles. I've fallen off the track, and, I've always had Chevy, Ford, Dodge.
Yeah.
But right now my main vehicle is a 2017 F-250.
A 2017 F-250.
Yeah. So I'm happy with it.
Happy with it? You like it? Good truck?
No, yeah. Yeah, everybody's asking me, like, it's already coming on 8 years old, and when are you going to get the new one? Like, I don't need the new one. This one's running totally fine.
I remember you in our friend group, you got made fun of.
Yes.
You sold out at one point.
I did.
You had a temporary lapse.
It was probably a good 5-year lapse.
A 5-year lapse where you sold out and you got a Mercedes.
Yep, you had a Mercedes, drove it around for a little while, and actually said, man, this Mercedes is nice, but, it didn't even have, being German made, it didn't have the features that Americans like, didn't have cup holders, didn't have all this other stuff that American cars have. So I sold it and thought I was going to be really good. And I jumped up to a Range Rover.
Oh, we went Range Rover.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I had a Range Rover for about another couple of years. And, but what was kind of funny was,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You know, I had a Range Rover. Yeah, I had a Range Rover mainly you didn't know I had a Range Rover because I wouldn't drive it very much. I mean,
you were embarrassed to drive it.
No, I had the Range Rover and the pickup truck, but when I went out to the garage to jump in a vehicle, I jumped in the truck. And every now and then I'd
back to your roots.
Yeah, every now and then I'd drive the Range Rover, and like I said, people would see me in it, and they were fine. Like, okay, yeah, that's great. But I couldn't throw bricks and tile and all that in the back of the Range Rover.
Guys, I gotta let our audience know the context for this. Okay, Matt, you have done over 1,000 real estate deals.
Yes.
You don't need to work anymore.
No.
Right. You hold hundreds of rental properties right now.
Yes.
You own a property management company. See, when I deal with guests like you, I have to brag on you because you won't brag on yourself. So I have to do it so that everybody else knows who we're talking to. You have crews that are doing new builds, like you're building brand new, scrape it and build brand new $1 million houses, right? Duplexes.
Yeah, duplexes. The whole project's over $1 million, but each property sells for right around the 700s.
Yeah. You also have a development, right? Up in the mountains.
Yep.
What's funny is sometimes I say these kind of things and then you like remember, oh, that's right. I do have and tell us about that development up there.
Yeah. So I actually have a great development up in Granby. I wish the economy was a little bit better, but right on the Fraser River up there, I have a property up in Edgewater.
Yeah.
That's some Edgewater development. And we could build another 70 homes over there. But right now, because of the economy, I could build them, but I couldn't sell them. So
you're waiting.
So I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the economy to come back around. And that's going to be a long-term project for me throughout my retirement. Like I said, up there, I'll probably go kick a rock here and there and pick up a window screen here and there. But, but I'm not going to be up there pounding nails and building these, but I'll hire a full-fledged company to build those 70.
Other people go to the beach for retirement, play golf for retirement. Matt does a real estate investing, a real estate development for retirement.
Yeah, but I do all that other stuff too. I'm at the beach.
We golf too.
Yeah, golf too. My main plan right now is to continue vacationing and keep my business operational.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought is unique about you is you like to get into different types of deals. I'm pretty systematic. I know exactly what I do, and I just do that over and over and over again. I'm holding houses that, we help tenants be able to buy them, whether that's through a lease purchase program or private finance. Like, that's my deal. You've done a lot of different types of real estate.
I've done a lot of different real estate, but like I said, back in 1980, when I was watching those late night shows, I mean, the main focus that I've started out with throughout all of the 80s and even most of the 90s was cash flow.
Yeah.
So even if I do these other side projects, so, if I do a fix and flip, if I do a new build, if I'm doing a land development, I'm always working on the cash flow with other assets and other means. I always go back to that. The other stuff it's shiny, romantic. It's a new love for a while.
Exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. So, cash flow systems, like I said, I've been doing it for over 40 years. So,
and
it's routine. So some of this other stuff it's new and exciting.
And this is where, with our audience, the moguls out there listening and watching, we harp on cash flow. We harp on passive income.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, passive income equals freedom. Like once your passive income is larger than your expenses, you're free. You've been building a portfolio for how long? 40 years?
40 years.
40 plus years. Your passive income, there's no way you and your wife have a problem living off the cash flow that's coming in there. Yeah, that's not a problem. And so all the other stuff that you're doing is really kind of side project type stuff. And oh, this seems interesting. Let me get into that.
Mm-hmm.
And is that fair to say?
Yes.
And so when he's talking about, driving a Mercedes and driving a Land Rover, this is why it's funny for guys like me, because I've been around you, right? And very generous person, but like no one would know that from a net worth perspective that you've got that kind of cash flow net worth. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
you like to keep that low profile.
Yeah, I really do. I really don't want to, expand on that, as far as, people knowing, like I said, I don't want the light shined on me.
And the fact that you even come on this show is like new for you. You've never done something like this, to get on the show and talk about this stuff, but I appreciate you doing it, because my objective is, what is it that we can kind of help the next generation? Like one of the questions that I was going to ask you is, what's some advice that a seasoned investor can give to a new investor, someone just getting started? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Educate yourself on the process and really find somebody that's doing it to help teach you. And I think that's, like you said, that's kind of where I'm at. Even yourself, I know that you do that, on your daily basis. And
yeah,
I'm here really just to pass on the knowledge. And if somebody wants to reach out to me, they can reach out to me, and I'll talk to them about real estate.
That type of advice, would you say then that new person who's working their regular job, got a little bit of money, what would you tell them to focus on?
Cash flow.
Cash flow.
I mean, people always talk about cash flow versus equity. Do I want equity? Do I want cash flow? Well, you could have equity, but it could be draining your bank account. It could be negative cash flow, but you have equity.
Yeah.
But if you could actually have cash flow with zero equity.
Yes, that's right.
So, that's the ultimate position to be in, is like, okay, I have zero equity in this, but I have X amount of cash flow per month coming into my bank account.
And why do you care more about cash flow?
It's never ending if you do it right. And like I said, equity can cost you money, and cash flow is king. Cash flow, like I said, gives you freedom.
They say cash is king. You would say cash flow is king.
If you're making, $100,000 at your job a year, but you can get your cash flow up to $110,000 a year, you don't need your job.
Right.
You're not living under the aspect of that you might lose your job tomorrow. I mean, once you have cash flow, that cash flow comes in.
That cash flow equals freedom.
Yeah.
Right. We have friends of ours who completely disagree with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we do.
You and I are aligned with that. What do you say to the guy who says, no, I just want to flip. I just want to fix and flip. I just want to make big chunks of money versus the cash flow. I don't want to put up with it. What do you say to that guy?
To me, that's almost like owning a restaurant or owning any other kind of business. Once you stop doing that function, the cash goes away. It's really another form of a job. I mean, freedom comes in from cash flow. If you buy a restaurant and you're making $100,000 a year off the restaurant, but you just are now self-employed on a job.
You're self-employed with your job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of making $100,000 from the cash flow,
from the mail,
basically $10,000 a month or so every single month. How long did it take you to get to the point where you felt comfortable with your passive income being larger than the expenses that you needed? At what point did that happen for you?
It didn't happen until sometime after 92. So let's say like 99, when I actually opened up my own office.
Yeah.
Is when I had the full freedom.
When you open up your own office and you no longer worked that other drafting job.
Yeah. My first in 92, when I left the drafting job, in 92, but I had partners in real estate. And then in 99, we separated that partnership.
Just to yourself now.
Yeah.
Going to wrap this episode up really quickly. Before we do, all of my guests, and this is why I appreciate you coming on, because it kind of validates some of the way that I've been thinking. We've talked a lot about this stuff for years, right? Highlighting cash flow over, these kind of things. Though you were able to, but you have done fix and flips. We may need to get you on here to talk fix and flips and buy and holds and the different ways to kind of make that happen. But I didn't realize that you were working a regular job and building your real estate empire at the exact same time.
Yeah.
That's admirable. What caused that? Like, in your mind, most people would just work the regular job. Why was real estate such an important thing for you?
I realized at an early age that it was going to give me freedom. I really did. I mean, like I said, I bought my first house in 1981, bought my second house in 1983, third house in 1985.
So you weren't even doing it fat. You were doing it one every 2 years, basically.
Yeah, I didn't have the funds and I didn't have the freedom to spend all the time doing it. So yeah, as I developed funds and developed a property once I could find a property that I could do it with, and I jumped into that property.
Yeah. So for you, it took a little bit of time.
Oh yeah.
Do you wish you would have figured out a way to speed that up?
I do. Yeah. I think if I had to do it again, like I said, the people that lose everything and then they have the knowledge, they can replicate it in half the time, if not even less than that. So yeah, I think I can produce more right now if I wanted to actually apply myself to it. But I'm in the half retirement mode. So
half retirement mode. Well, we'll have to talk more about what a real Matt Sanchez retirement looks like on another episode. But all our guests, pull that baseball thing out. Be careful with it. If you could, can you sign my baseball? All my guests come in there. The pen is right back there. Yeah.
You're not going to be able to read my signature.
I'm going to put it on loan documents. So make sure. I'm just kidding.
It's pretty easy.
Well, man, I appreciate you doing that. Yeah, Matt Sanchez, everybody, the humble real estate mogul of Denver, Colorado. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. You had to put your name underneath it.
My wife calls it the official doctor's signature.
the humble real estate mogul empire of Denver, Colorado, and good to have you on here, man.
Thanks for the invite. I actually wasn't sure how this is going to come out, but I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, it's great. So that's it for this episode. We'll see you on the next one. If something we said hit home for you, drop it in the comments. I read every single one.
Thanks for tuning in to The Real Wealth Formula, hosted by Brad Hovis. If this episode helped you see money and purpose a little differently, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Share with someone who's ready to build real wealth, and keep building the life, purpose, and freedom you were made for. Until next time, keep your goals clear and your wealth real.